I want my baby back, baby back, baby back, baby back ribs. I want my baby back, baby back, baby back, baby back ribs. Chili baby back ribs.
It's Friday from a converted bedroom somewhere in the south of England, only slightly edited and not at all live. They're the cream in your coffee, the double 6 to your snake eyes, the 22 to your 21, the Ralph Wiggum of board games, the Titans of the tabletop. They're really good at Russian roulette. They've settled Catan, well, hell, we're still here. The Sultans of Snakes and Ladders, the Ayatollahs of Agricola, the Betrayers at House on the Hill, the Kings of Tokyo, the Lords of Waterdeep. They are men at work. They put the bang in bang. The champions of the world, the employers of fun. They always have a ticket to ride. Your favourite podcast. It's the Everybody Dies podcast. I'm Bristle McThornbody.
What? What?
What?
What?
Okay, fine.
What?
Introduce yourself.
Oh man, that's thrown me so hard. And I'm Mitch Connor.
And today we're going to be exploring a very, very Christmassy episode for some reason. We're still at the beginning of November, mid-November.
Ho ho ho, bitches.
Yeah. Where we're going to be discussing what games should be on your Christmas wish list this year. So yeah. What have you been playing?
I just realised who Mitch Connor is.
You should be talking through your hand right now.
Yeah, oh god, that's a new segment.
Yeah.
And now to Mitch Connor live. I've weirdly only been playing what's it called? Chronicles Crime. I've been playing Chronicles Crime like quite a bit lately.
Yeah.
So I recently went away with my girlfriend, and it's one of the only games she likes playing, just because of the easy setup, I guess. I've been playing that, and then weirdly, I played it again this week on Wednesday. We were solving just the base game. We weren't playing any of the expansions, but yeah, it's a really easy game to get hold of.
It is, yeah. And there's plenty of expansions, and so there's always stuff to play because there's community creations as well, isn't
so
there?
I have
and stuff,
downloaded some of those, but I've yet to try them. The only problem is I think that the website you use to download them, it's either Board Game Geek or it's through one of those ones. It's a little bit difficult to navigate.
Yeah.
And I think because sometimes there's language barriers, I think it's kind of difficult to get very up-to-date English versions. There seems to be a lot of Polish and German versions.
I think that's the problem when you've got fan-created content, is that there's not so many of the translations and things like that
available. There's not the support for it, which is... Because I noticed with Robbie Munn's Sumo Gnomes, he was actually getting fans to translate it through different things, which is actually a really nice idea because through the community he's got, or at the end I think he had about 3 or 4, which is, it's perfectly fine. It's just because he himself is predominantly only speaking one language, so I guess it's easier for him.
Yeah, I mean, just having someone make one translation of the game just opens up a whole nother...
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you start throwing out like the major languages that are mostly spoken across the world, like, you're done. Like,
Yeah.
Spanish, French, German, done.
Yeah, exactly.
You?
Do you know what? We played something.
Wait, hold on. Shall we rewind my mind?
We did play a little bit of Megacity Oceania again.
I wouldn't say a little bit, we played a full game.
We did play a full game of it. And seeing as I don't think we're going to be doing a video review of it, I feel like we can talk about that probably thoroughly and probably for the very last time.
Yeah, I think it's been mentioned 4 podcasts in a row, probably.
This is either the 3rd or 4th podcast we've really been talking about it. But like I said, it doesn't look like we're going to be doing a video review of it, so I feel like we can just kind of sum up this game now, because it's a game we've played a hell of a lot. And I think... It's funny, I think it's up there as one of my favourite games of the year.
It was interesting because it was one of the ones you wanted to play at this year's going, I guess, the Euro Gamer Expo.
Yeah.
And
UK Game Expo.
Sorry,
I kept doing the same on an old podcast. I remember on one of the older podcasts, I say Euro Gamer Expo a number of times, and
that's
when I was
EGX,
watching it back, I was just thinking, oh god, idiot.
So that's not to be confused with idiots, DMP. That's not to be confused with the UK Games Expo, which is the gaming one, video games. Bing, bing, bing.
Yeah.
At the UK Games Expo, we saw it, and it was one of those games where I think it only had 1 table's presence, but it was always busy. And
it was.
You just kind of, I mean, now it makes sense. We only heard the cluttering of the tiles.
Mm.
But Yeah, at the time I sort of, again, because it was kind of crowded, we didn't really get a good look at it, and I know you were a bit sort of, you were like, oh, I kind of wanted to play that one.
Yeah.
And you just took a wing for it. And just
I kind of feel like it's the only game that I went in there wanting to play, because I knew about it before the expo, and it was the only game out of all those ones which I pre-planned to kind of try to play that we didn't get to play, which was a bit of a letdown. But
I wonder if it's one of those things where sometimes I guess even the people that make the games don't realise how big the game's going to be.
Sure.
And then don't put on as such a big present, or maybe they can't because of whatever reason. Maybe they're a small company, and I think it's just one of those things where it's a really nice way to get out there, but there's a few things where we saw they had absolutely tons of tables for like Outer Rim, wasn't it? Star Wars Outer Rim.
Yes.
And even that was busy. You can never get a game of that, so we never had a chance.
Then I can understand why now, because if you are playing a full game of that, once someone's down at a table, they're going to be down on that table for a good long time. I mean, a good couple of hours, something like that. Yeah. If they're allowing people to play through the entire game, which I think they were.
They were definitely giving you a good sized chunk, I think.
Yeah, so it was one that was quite hard to get on. It had only just been released at the time as well.
Yeah, literally,
so
I think that week before, wasn't it?
Yeah. The one which really surprised me at the time when we were there was Wacky Races. The fact that they only had one table for that.
Yeah.
It had just been released, and that was always full. We actually managed to get on that one, and it turned out to be not as good as we hoped it would be.
Yeah, I think we've been sort of coming away from the Megacity Oceania, but I think the main issue I had with Wacky Races is, admittedly, we had better ideas in our head of what it was going to be. I guess it's the same as like any fan theory based thing. I think the fact that there's ways I like it and the ways I don't. I like the fact that the colourful characters and the way you do stuff is really, really cool, but I think it's kind of a bit of a shame that Darsley and Muttley are AI.
Yeah.
And almost nearly win, but don't win and can't.
That is in line with the cartoon, because they never win, but
it takes out a little bit of that kind of the AI work, even if you don't play as them. So it's sort of I don't know. It was a good game, but it's not one of those games that I think none of us have desperately tried to buy.
Yeah,
maybe I might. Yeah.
So Megacity Oceania, I mentioned that it's quite possibly one of my favourite games of the year. However, I don't think it's a game we can really recommend. Despite that,
wow, it's a bold claim.
Yeah, and the reason why is because when we were playing it, I really enjoyed. I enjoyed building up your little cities on things. I like moving them in and stuff like that. But really reflecting back on it, there's not a lot of a game there, in that your level of interaction with one another is very, very minimal in the game.
Yeah, it's pretty much just passing the bag, or if they're going to use the bag, there's very little talking.
Yes.
Other than you announcing that you will be delivering your city.
And I think that's the only thing is, although there's lots to it that I really like, I like the fact that you can be building in between turns, so you don't have to be waiting, so you're always doing something. And I would almost equate it to playing with Lego. Like being given a short instruction and you building
Going into it, and
or being given like a requirement of what you need to build and then building it. And then I would say the only bit is it's nice to have that bit of tension when someone's sliding the tile across and you're kind of all like gritting your teeth and wondering whether it's all going to fall down or not.
It kind of,
I mean, I love all that, and I still absolutely love Megacity Oceania, but if I was going to compare it to Men at Work, which I actually prefer it to, I prefer Megacity Oceania to Men at Work, but putting on a reviewer's hat, I would have to say that in Men at Work,
so
when you're placing things on the work site, you can place things so that you make it harder for the next person that has to place things, and that's where that has a bit of extra bite to it.
It's very much like almost in the same sort of vein as, like, say, Jenga, where you admittedly it's taking a piece, but in this case putting a piece on, but you know there's that whole kind of ooh, and people are talking like, oh, go on. Yeah. So you don't really get that with Megacity Oceania. However, I think there could be a somewhat easy fix to it if maybe they were to bring out an expansion. Would be like a team-based building, because then realistically you'd be having two people trying to help build it. So, you need so it's like, let's say, say you're the architect, and I am the building contractor. So you're pointing out what I'm a bit like Team 3 in a way,
which we'll get onto in a second.
Which could maybe take away that. I mean, again, I suppose you could house rule it,
Yeah.
If you wanted to play a doubles game, and I think it would work within the sort of theme of it in a way.
Yeah.
But maybe that's a plan. Maybe that's not. I don't know. I think it would be a nice little touch because you at least have two people talking. Like, so you can't use glass. So it's got to be over 75 meters high. You need more than 8 pieces. Okay, cool. And it's got to be over the vent. So like that would be kind of a cool concept because you'd have someone else kind of instructing you through it, and then maybe swap over each segment. I don't know.
Yeah, that would help fix things. It means you've got a bit more interaction with other people.
Yeah.
If they could do things like you have to build bridges over, say, river tiles or something like that to connect your cities. Let's say your parts of the cities all had to be together. So in other words, you were representing 2 boroughs as teams or something like that. So sometimes you had to find ways of actually being able to connect your cities together as well. So in other words, you were working as a team towards a puzzle on both sides at the same time as a little expansion or something like that.
I think
might
that'd be
kind
quite
of cool.
Nice. Again, there's potential for that.
Yes,
it's very easy to incorporate it, so it wouldn't need to be. The only thing I'm not keen on, and there's a few games that suffer from this, unless you've played it quite a lot, it's the additional scoring again. This happens in most games, to be fair, like Teotihuacan. What's the other one?
Are you thinking of Gugong?
Gugong. It's starting to happen.
Yeah.
Dead Man's Cabal, stuff like that. It's those kind of games where you've got the initial scoring for, say, doing the action, but then it's the late game, end game, where you total it up, and it's like, oh, I haven't got all of this. Like, so for instance, you had one of every colour built.
Yeah.
For contracts. Then there was the highest building. Then there was nearest to parks. There's quite a few, isn't there? That kind of.
There is. I like that, but I would say that the only way you can keep that in your control is by blocking other people. There's nothing else you can really ever do in the game. Like, for example, if you've got one of every other colour, so there's 4 different colours in the games of contracts that you can complete in Megacity Oceania. If you've got 3 of them and you notice there's only one left on the table of the last colour, you know that you want to get it. However, if someone else on the table sees that you only need one more, they might buy it instead. And
even just to...
they'll take it just to block you from getting that diversity bonus at the end of the game.
She, not intentionally, but it was one of those things because it was the last one, so she had to. Yeah. Whereas if I had picked it up, we both wouldn't have won.
I think that was for the dominance one. So in other words, who's got the most? I think it was red contract or something. And if she had taken it, she would have drawn with you for the same amount of red contracts. So you would have split the points between you.
Oh, you split them. I thought it was. Was it not?
Was it split?
No
I can't remember. Maybe no one got it.
If no one gets it, I think it makes it easier for that person to kind of go, oh, well, at least both of us aren't getting points.
But yeah.
If I can't win, you can't.
Anyway, shall we move on to Team 3?
Yes. I'm going to just... I'd like to give out a formal apology. In periodic points of this podcast and video podcast, you're going to hear me coughing. And it's because I got the plague. There's one there. So I apologise if anyone's listening in headphones.
Okay.
There you go.
Nice, thank you.
A formal apology. Our fellow podcastians.
So yeah, we also played a bit of Team 3.
You did, yes.
Me, yourself, and your girlfriend.
Yes. So again, this time round we swapped the roles round.
I think this was the best evening of Team 3 that we've played.
Yeah.
Like, usually when we've played it before, we've only played 1 or 2 games. We stayed on this for a good 9 or so games.
We basically played every segment, didn't we?
Yeah.
So again, it's very much... I seem to be excelling at building blind. Yeah, funny. You seem to be really good at describing, wasn't it? Or were you...
Yeah, I if I remember right, I think we actually completed every single easy and kind of like medium kind of difficulty challenge.
Get one hard one up?
I think we might have finished one hard one, and then the other 2 hard ones we failed. So actually, we were all doing quite well in all the different roles.
Yeah, actually, that's true. Yeah.
Each time, I don't feel as if like we were necessarily particularly weak.
No,
at any of them.
I would say there's that initial thing where again I can't describe shapes, and once I realised that I can't describe it, and much to the anger of Helen, yeah. You describe things really badly. Yeah, well,
I think there was the whole thing as well where I was getting confused in myself as to how I was actually mimicking what you should be saying to Helen.
Oh, you need to cut
with
this
my hand.
For like
it was
like a shapes video. we were just throwing down. So you started doing that as well. Like,
did I? I didn't even realise that.
You didn't mean to, but honestly,
naturally going to DJing.
People need to be seeing this. Please watch the YouTube video. Yeah, I'm just a natural born DJ.
But yeah, Honestly, I really like Team 3.
Yeah, I think it's
I think it's
simple,
great.
but I absolutely love the fact that you can just kind of... It's a small box game, and again, this goes back to our what can you take on a plane, what can you take with you, segments. I would say that is a really good game to just take with you and kind of... It doesn't need too much explanation. There's none, really, is it? It's one of you can't see, one of you can't talk, and one of you can't... Well, I know not hear, but, like, yeah.
I will say, I feel as if it's kind of similar to The Mind in that it's one of these games where you have to play it over and over and over again. You kind of get into a rhythm of how to do it.
Better, almost.
If you're playing with people that are going to say after 2 games, I'm kind of done with this, then you're not really going to get the full experience of it, because it's only when everything starts working together.
You really need to progress between one easy one, then the next one, hard one, then the next one, and then almost get to the very hard part, just so you can go, come on guys, we've got this, like, team, let's do it.
Yeah.
And then I think that's almost, like you say, the joy is playing to the end almost.
Yeah, and doing that whole playing over and over and over. If you're, it is quite easy to say that if you're playing in a group and one person just isn't enjoying it, then the whole game falls apart. It's just, you might as well pack it away at that point and get on with playing something else during the evening. But luckily we were playing with, I would say all 3 of us were really enjoying it.
Yeah, again, like I say, I'll make her sound like she's an idiot, but she doesn't really like rules, and that is probably, again, a bit like Chronicles of Prime, just super easy to pick up. So
yeah, there's not a lot of stuff to it.
No, and I can't really explain rules to people, as I've been told. So the less for me to explain. I mean, you're very good at it, but the less for me to explain is so much better. Yeah, it's better for everyone.
Yeah, I think the only other thing I'll mention that we played recently, or at least I played, was Abomination, and I'm not gonna. I think this is probably gonna be a video review, and I will say this strictly from a 2-player point of view on the game, because I have not played it with more people yet. As a 2-player game, it's, I'm gonna say a bad word.
No.
It's shit. Really bad.
It's shiitake mushrooms.
Really, really bad. I did not enjoy it at all. It seems like there are a couple of characters in it that are broken, and I will say that in the rulebook it says there are 2-player characters in the game that you should not play as to begin with in a 2-player game. I disagree with that. Never play with these 2 characters in a 2-player game, because they downright break the game. So I was playing with a character that was a humanitarian who generally didn't have any special abilities other than if you get to your humanity level up high enough, you start scoring extra points throughout the game. So naturally you want to be heading for the humanitarian path. So all your opponent has to do during the game is block off the 2 locations that can gain you humanity, and you're done. Yes, you could be doing other things at the same time, but generally that's your main way of doing it. They may have advantages that they can use other things for. And the other problem is that almost every single other place you can go to, I will say what Abomination is first. It's a game where your aim is to build Frankenstein's monster, so you build body parts and you have to pass electricity through them to bring your parts to life. It's done through a worker placement game, so if you've played games like Lords of Waterdeep, Champions of Midgard, you'll kind of have a good idea of how this game probably plays by placing your little worker characters on locations on a map and then doing certain actions. However, only one person can go to each area of the map per round. Although there is a neat little area at the bottom of the map where you can place a meeple and you can then pay whoever's on a location that you want to use in order to use that action, or you get it for free if you want to do your own location twice or 3 times, even if you're playing with more people and have more spaces on that board at the bottom. But generally they made it really easy to be able to block off this one player and make their game generally ineffective. Like I said, there are more ways of being able to play, but generally this is the way this person has the advantage of winning, and it's generally just very easy to cut off. As for the other card they say you shouldn't play as, the Psychopath is ridiculously overpowered. It's impossible to stop him. I would say if you're playing the game as the Psychopath and you don't win, you've done something really badly wrong. I would say the only way would work is if you're playing, I would say, always play with more than 2 players if you're going to have the psychopath in there, regardless of whether you're experienced at the game or not. Because the table has to work together, really, in order to stop whoever's playing as the psychopath. There's no other way I can see that you cannot possibly win. Because the psychopath doesn't ever lose or gain humanity. So in other words, they don't gain the bonuses by getting a huge humanity score at the end of the game.
Negatives.
But on the other side of things, they can just flat out go out and murder people and not really have too many kind of drawbacks to it. So committing a murder in Abomination to harvest body parts to create a monster, I will say this is a horrific game. It is probably like the darkest game I think I've ever played. And I'm not going to go too much into what I think about the rest of the game. All I'm going to say is the 2-player version of it does not play very well. In fact, we even got to the point where we didn't finish the game. We were having was having such a bad time with it that we just decided, no, we're just going to stop playing here. We do have to play it more. It is quite rare for me to do that, but we need to play it with more people. I will say this is not a fair review. I'm simply talking about what I've played this week and the fact that it wasn't a very pleasant experience. But hey, we've got to give it more of a try. We need to play it with more people. We'll see how it goes. I can certainly see it has potential because there's so many things you're trying to balance in the game that you're quite, unless you're playing as the psychopath, you quite often have hard decisions to make. And having hard decisions to make always makes for a good game. Always does. So, yeah.
I'm trying to think if I'm pretty sure I played Unmatched actually again.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I played it with different characters this time.
You played with Helen, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I'm pretty sure that was before this last podcast.
Yeah, you mentioned it. Either way, you've had a bit longer, haven't you? Because you weren't on the last podcast.
Oh, yes. Yeah, so I played Unmatched again, actually. I kind of like it. A lot of other people don't seem to find it that amazing, but I like it. It's easy enough. I played as Medusa this time, and her unique abilities, she has harpies, and she's ranged. I'm toying with the idea of buying the Bigfoot versus Robin Hood.
I saw that was released,
but it doesn't look like it's necessarily a just an expansion. It's more of an actual single game again, actually, because you get another board, you get 2 characters to play, so it's not like they're just releasing so like the Bruce Lee figure that was originally coming out. With this, it's more just
a 2-player game rather than giving you, well, it's a 2-player game anyway, it's giving you just a flat.
I think you can play with 4 players.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think you can play with 4 players, but
this is a simple 2-player starter set.
Yeah,
basically.
so essentially it's the starter set, but not the starter set, which is kind of nice. I'm probably going to get it because I love the little miniatures, to be honest, and the game's quite nice.
And just having more options to be able to play with is kind of what makes the game great.
This is the thing, they're all kind of cross-compatible, and I think the next ones they were talking about maybe like Little Red Riding Hood and some other little characters, and because obviously they can just use as much of the mythos of different legends as they can. I'm hoping they continue it for a while, because it's a nice enough game to bring out and just people can kind of play it quite easily, and it's not too many rules.
Yeah.
So it's quite a cool little fighting game.
Yeah. Shall we move on to some news?
Feed me the news.
Let's do news. Okay.
Let's do that news.
Okay, the first thing I'm going to talk about is, to be honest, it's been kind of slow for news recently. I feel like all the big kind of like conventions like Essen are all gone now, so everything's kind of slowed down a bit. We've got a few things though. I think I might have gone for a few which will
tickle my fancy.
Yeah,
upset me.
I might say that.
Upset me, tickle my fancy.
Maybe upset you. Okay, so the first one.
I mean, it's been one of those days today, so let's crack this up.
The first one I've got is Byzantium inspires Greek board game. So it's a game called Constantinopoly, and it's actually a game that's very much in the vein of Monopoly,
Okay.
But instead...
Ooh, actually, that does kind of look thematic.
Yeah, so this is from... Oh, God, I cannot pronounce this. Ekathemarini.com. Again, I will put links in the description if you would like to have a look at this. But inspired by the popular board game Monopoly, Greek designers created Constantinopoly, where players buy plots in Constantinople using Byzantine and Ottoman coins to build the city's famous monuments. While historic events such as the city's fall in 1453 influenced the development of the game, the board game aims to spread knowledge of Greek culture and history in an innovative way. So, this already sounds better than Monopoly.
Right, yeah. Judging by the fact that, I mean, like Steve said, he'll post the link on, but I really like the artwork.
Yes, so the board looks nice.
Something I have been doing in my time off is playing a lot of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And, where do I begin? Basically, it's massive. That's all I'm going to say. It's a massive game. But one of the good things about it is it does kind of give you this kind of insight into what people believe Greek mythology to be and Greek life. I would probably buy this because I like the fact that there's events to do with timelines. So obviously you've got like, I'm assuming, what was it, the fall of different places and stuff, and the invasions and stuff. So I think that'd be quite a cool concept to be building up your stuff and maybe to lose it in a war.
Yeah, I mean, really, I just wanted to include this because people are still taking inspiration even from your standard high street shop board game.
Yep.
So
degrade that bastard.
Yeah, I mean, I've played the Doom that came to Atlantic City, which is very much reverse Monopoly. Okay. And I know I still dislike it. I don't like Monopoly. I really am one of those people that likes the H.P. Lovecraft inspired stuff.
Yeah, do you know what? I've been perusing that selection there, and the amount, it's like 3 of them, isn't there?
Yeah, there is a lot of them, but the Doom that came to Atlantic City is not a good game. It is Monopoly with a Cthulhu twist. If you're expecting more than that, then you're not really going to get it. And I think that's probably my fear for this game. If it's too similar to Monopoly, it may still have a generally short lifespan for someone like me. Like, I would be interested because I am interested in Greek mythology and Greek lore and stuff like that. But
although it appears to be there's 2 separate tracks, or in fact, I'm going to come really close to you. There's 2 tracks because that one goes. Oh no, it does loop round.
Yeah, I mean they're still all numbered and it's all in sequential order still. So
I don't know. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah,
I know what you mean. It's kind of intriguing enough.
I certainly feel as if this looks more interesting than Monopoly, but I think ultimately
might suffer from Monopoly syndrome.
It may suffer from
Monopoly syndrome.
Okay, this next story you'll like.
Oh no.
Call the Midwife board game is selling out.
Well, like as in it's selling out, as in it's gone off the shelves, or selling out because it's done something dodgy?
It's selling out because you just can't buy it. It
existed?
Bear in mind that this news story comes from goodhousekeeping.com, that famous magazine in Britain. Yeah, I think it was
Hold on.
So it was the description of the game that got me.
Yeah, come on, give me some of this.
As fans wait for the Call the Midwife Christmas special to hit our screens on 25th of December, and following that, the highly anticipated 9th series of the popular BBC show, there's another way to immerse yourself in the world of Nonatus House. I don't know if I've said that right, but I don't care.
It looks like Nonatus.
That's because the Call the Midwife board game is on sale, ready for loads of festive fun.
Okay, right, now, correct me if I'm wrong, but Call the Midwife, is that the one where the women go in and then they're pretty much about to have their baby and then people film them having their baby?
Yeah.
That's it?
I guess. I don't watch it. But I found this quite amusing anyway.
Okay.
The game was first released in 2018.
Oh, wow,
players
okay.
The change? That definitely says the change to become...
It does say the change, I'm not going for
The change to become the midwives on Nonatus House, overcoming obstacles set around East London as they try to deliver as many babies as possible. Like... Is this game you're just trying to make a baby delivering machine?
I imagine
basically?
so.
I mean,
in, out, next.
Yeah, exactly.
Scream, swoo, push.
This is a business, goddammit. Well, actually, it isn't, but
not here. It's
no,
not, but yeah.
no. But it sounds like it could be. Back for a second year in 2019, the game's proving to be very popular indeed, with limited stock on retailers, including Amazon, and no stock left on John Lewis.
It looks awful.
It does look awful. This is the kind of game that is just kind of... it's not appealing to board gamers. It's appealing to fans of the series that want a bit extra that they can do outside of it. And I've never watched an episode of Call of Duty Live.
Just to give you guys a little insight, if there's anyone across the pond, the top of the actual website we're on, you've got the links are Christmas, beauty, food, slow cooker meals, and books.
Yeah. So I just wanted to add this in there, really, just for giggles.
Oh my god.
So,
I was going to say something really horrific then, but I'm not now.
Let's move on swiftly to Fallout Shelter is getting a board game. It's being made by Fantasy Flight. So, much like how this the last game appealed to a very certain audience, this also probably appeals to a very certain audience, but an audience that's far more likely to be invested in board gaming, I would say. So your video game fans, things like that. As long as there isn't a Fallout 76 game, I'm fine. I mean, it's a bit unfair, really, because every Fallout game has been buggy as hell. It's just that one more so than the others.
I think the issue with that is because it's purely online. There's none of that whole...
Yes.
There was none of that whole... Like, you're missing the point with all the Fallout games or any of the Bethesda games. They've always been about the story and interaction with the side characters and stuff like that. And I feel like just to read the story, you just read stuff in this one, and you interact with people that are complete and utter bad people.
So this one comes from comicbook.com, and they write, Bethesda's Fallout games are some of the most popular games on consoles, but they also managed to take that Fallout magic and create a hit mobile title as well in Fallout Shelter. Now Fantasy Flight Games is taking the popular spin-off and spinning it in a new tabletop game, fittingly titled Fallout Shelter, the board game. The new title will allow 2 to 4 players to play as officers of their very own vault, where they will need to assign tasks to dwellers, manage the vault's resources, and keep your dwellers safe from threats. Now, this to me sounds far better suited to being a board game than Fallout in general.
But there's been 2 Fallout games, hasn't
there? There has, and really I would put them more akin to miniatures games, really. This sounds like it actually has potential to be great. I know the miniatures game went down very well, the board game not so much.
I'm guessing that they would be... I mean, because I used to like quite playing the mobile games, so I imagine that it would have similar aspects of where you have to clear debris and there's costs involved, and where you place tiles is
so I can see
factored
this
into this.
I can see this as a worker placement game.
Yeah, which it is in its spirit is a worker placement game.
It actually says you'll be doing things like managing the gardens, power plants, and water treatment facilities to harvest food, energy, and water, all needed to expand your vault.
I also wonder if they have that cool aspect, which I quite liked, of sending off your inhabitants to go off and to explore the wasteland. You never saw any of... Oh, actually, no, you did. They got to a point where you would... you'd complete missions, actually. I think they updated it, because I started playing at that point. They had missions where you would end up going to a separate location and going around clearing... Like a dungeon crawler. Clearing it out to complete the mission. I remember that.
Yeah. Well,
probably
the thing
not
is,
this, but...
This actually looks like... This actually looks like the video game as such. You've kind of got your central hallway, and then you kind of use cards to build out and expand your vault. So I think this could actually work very well.
I would play this. Again, I wonder how big it's going to be, but I would play this.
I think in terms of a game, because let's not forget that board gaming and miniatures gaming are quite different.
Yeah, I mean, I have the Wasteland Warfare game.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I'm going to say about it, because I've opened it, but I haven't really even tried.
A friend of mine, I believe he's one of our patrons, Elliot, does have the board game, and from what I heard from him, he said it was really good. Really enjoyed it. He said it was more of an RPG experience, so it was more of a storytelling kind of thing.
Yeah, because I think in that one you had the little hexes that you explored out and stuff like that.
Yes.
I know at one point it was really hard to get hold of.
Yeah, it was.
I think he got it beforehand, and he said it was he had really good fun time playing it, and I got a bit confused and then bought the miniatures game.
Yeah.
Which is apparently doing well, but I don't know.
Apparently the other one had a leveling system to it.
Cool.
It was more of a campaign-based thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Campaign-based games, I will say the downside to them is that you have to have a regular group of gamers get together and play it regularly. We still have Gloomhaven. We got fairly far into Betrayal Legacy, which
Blackstone Fortress.
We played a few games of. But I mean, we're three people that play games together quite often, and even we struggle to play these long campaign.
I think this is
games.
the problem. We start. I mean, a really long time ago. I think me, Ian, and one of our friends Matt started. It might have even been you actually. Did we start Imperial Assault once?
I wasn't there for Imperial
No,
Assault.
it must have been me, Ian, and Matt. We started Imperial Assault, and we're talking like a good 3 years ago. We did one introductory mission.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is like you say. This is. I mean, I think I played the first mission of Zombicide Black Plague, and I've never got back to that. It's one of those things.
In fairness, Zombicide doesn't have to be played as a campaign anyway.
No,
so
true.
It's easy to play single games, and that's where I think Fallout Shelter could prosper better than the previous games, simply because it is a game that you're going to be able to, say, even play in board game cafes. You're going to be able to play a game of it as long as it's done well, as long as it works well together. I can see this actually doing, or at least being received critically better than the other games, I think.
Fantasy Flight seem to be okay handling licenses.
Yes, they do. I think if there's any company that you want handling your license, it's usually Fantasy Flight. So, so yeah. Right. Okay. Second from last story I want to talk about is King of Tokyo, which is getting a special. I think it's for the 15th anniversary. I think.
Oh, that is.
It's
cool.
getting a noir edition. So, 10 years. This is courtesy of the Zatu Games website. To celebrate nearly 10 years of monster fun, Yellow are to release a special collector's edition of the game that promises to appeal to the old goths and emos among us, King of Tokyo Dark Edition. The game promises to have a more wicked backdrop, with the artwork taking on a more muted monochrome look, punctuated by flashes of toxic yellow. It also states that there will be a more wicked game mechanic. The game components have also been given an upgrade in addition to this. This is meant to be a limited run. It's not going to be something that's going to be around forever, so if you are a fan of King of Tokyo, you may want to snap this up quick. It may well be something that's more of a thing that looks pleasing on your shelf, maybe. However, I really like the idea of this. As someone who really likes like the old Godzilla films and stuff like that, I feel like this is just one of those little touches that just will really appeal to me. I have King of Tokyo.
I think I have King of Tokyo as well. Like we both.
I really like it. Yeah. I love using King of Tokyo to introduce people into board gaming.
On there, it's a gateway.
They do,
game.
Yeah.
So this is the thing. It's one of those things where, again, it's super easy to play. It's a really simple, easy game to play. I think I bought the New York one. I haven't played that because it's slightly. No, I haven't played it.
It's a bit more rulesy, yeah.
I wouldn't even say that much more.
It's not as easy to use to introduce new people to.
There's like another layer to that, which is cool.
There is.
It's something so fascinating, like just fun, not fascinating. Something fun about just picking a bizarre monster and just throwing down in Tokyo.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm interested in this.
I'd like to see how much it's going to be.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, how much different it will be from the base game? Because if it is just,
I don't think it's going to be like they say. It's going to have a mechanic put into it, an extra mechanic, and
so a bit like
hopefully it's going to be an optional mechanic. Because I do see this as something that's just going to sit pretty on your shelf, especially if you already own King of Tokyo, and you're buying this as a fan of the game, just looking to have something nice.
Which is nothing wrong with.
No, there's nothing wrong with that.
And that's probably where the top part of the market's going to be for this.
Probably, but if you're intrigued by this tool, I'd probably recommend trying just regular King of Tokyo first, because it's still the easiest way into the game.
Chunky custom dice.
It is very, very nice. Okay, the last story I want to talk about, and one that's going to make me very angry, is the... I never know how to pronounce this anymore.
You can't even say it.
Come On Games announced Zombicide Night of the Living Dead. And the reason why this makes me so angry is because this is 3 in a row. They've just done the Zombicide Invaders, which was a Kickstarter.
Second edition?
No, sorry, that was first edition.
No, the new one.
So that was followed immediately on Kickstarter by the second edition of the first one with new updated rules to it, which has just finished on Kickstarter, and they've immediately announced Night of the Living Dead version of Zombicide, and you get to a point where you think, just
give up.
Just stop this right now, because it kind of feels like you're gonna. I've seen people upset about this as well, and I can completely understand why. Because if you're a fan of a game and you want to have a complete collection of it, you're not being given a chance to let your wallet replenish before you have to spend money on yet another $75 to $100 game, something like that. If you're looking at deluxe versions, you're paying more than that. It's just absolutely relentless, and it's starting to feel like they're taking advantage of people at this point, and it's just...
Well, yeah.
I know these companies have to take advantage of their licenses and stuff like that, but
not so soon.
You look at other companies that release Kickstarter after Kickstarter after Kickstarter, like, for example, Awakened Realms, for example. They're doing it, but they're doing it with vastly different games. Like, they had Lords of Hellas, followed by Nemesis, followed by Tainted Grail.
I know what that new one was. I can't remember what the new one was.
I can't remember what it's called now, but they're developing different games with different mechanics to them. What they're doing is rehashing the same game over and over and over and having a constant stream of it on Kickstarter.
I think the issue I've got is I've never played the base game, and I know you said it's not that great, but Black Plague is better.
Black Plague made it irrelevant, I would say. There are some people out there that don't like the Black Plague setting and say, I want to stick to regular Zombicide. That's kind of what this second edition has remedied, because second edition now has upgraded the rules to...
Yeah, because I think you could just buy the upgraded rules section and then whatever it was, player parts or whatever you needed.
But Black Plague was just a nicer product in general, but even with Black Plague, a lot of it was still quality of life stuff. For example, it had upgraded player boards.
Yeah, they were nice.
Things of the sort, so tracking all your things was easier, keeping your inventory organised was easier.
I don't want to trigger you, but I'm curious.
You're curious.
What?
Right.
Is it based on George A. Romero?
George A. Romero.
Yes, George R. Martin.
Yeah.
George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead.
It is.
The entire concept, or just the first Night of the Living Dead?
They've literally only just announced this. They've said it's going to be the Night of the Living Dead film brought into Zombicide, basically.
Okay. If this was done well, and there was a black and white theme throughout, but let's say they did. God, there was Green Horde as well, wasn't there?
There was, yeah.
So let's say they did Green Horde, which was orcs and some other stuff, which is kind of different enough to warrant a expansion. And then the Invader one, which is space dudes, again cool. But then say they left it a while. I agree.
They should be leaving this a while. They should not be doing this straight away.
And said, oh, it's a Night of the Living Dead project. I would be inclined to see what it was like, having not had the other ones.
Let me tell you what Simon, or come on, sorry, I don't care what they're called anymore. I could well I could well be vetoing them from now on. I may not be buying another one of their games.
I honestly thought you were about to say I could be going vegan now. I am. Come on, games vegan.
Here's the problem: is that if you look at a similar industry, such as video games, part of the thing that angers a lot of video game people and is starting to drive people away from video gaming and stuff like that is you have all these big companies like Ubisoft, like EA, like Activision, who release the same game on a yearly basis.
Yeah.
So, for example, you get the Assassin's Creeds that are released on a yearly basis.
They
you
have
get
actually
Call
stopped
of Duties.
doing that, which has made them a lot better games.
Yes.
Actually.
And honestly, it doesn't matter, because these are things which have already angered the video gaming community and have soured a lot of them. And Come On Games are as far as I know, they're the first ones that are starting to bring this culture into board gaming. And this is only going to anger people. It's going to drive people away from the hobby, especially if you're a Zombicide fan and you're struggling to keep up with everything anymore. After a while, you'll become jaded by the game itself, because you'll get bored of it. I mean, I just don't think it's good for the industry.
No,
I think they're poisoning the well much in the same way that those companies in video gaming did.
I think Destiny, I guess, is one of the main ones at the moment. I would say that probably killed it off for me a little bit with that. You had Destiny 1, followed by the Season Pass, followed by a sort of mini update, which then got released as a full package thing, which then got released. So they just did this for I think 5 or 6 things.
Yes.
And then they started doing it again with the second one. and I think this is the issue. It's the same game, you just added a little bit extra to it, but you're paying more or less full price for it. So this is kind of where I think that they're doing the same thing with this, because essentially it's just a zombie game. It doesn't matter what you change, if it's the theme or whatever, but just to kind of maybe tweak it and then release it for like another sort of £80 each time. I'm very upsetting.
Actually going to disagree with you here, because what I think is Destiny. This would be if Destiny were doing their whole thing of they were releasing Destiny 1, then a load of add-on packs, then release Destiny 2, bunch of add-on packs to extend the game, then release Destiny 3, followed by Destiny 4, followed by Destiny 5, with no add-on packs in between. This is what Zombicide used to do. You used to get a ton of expansions. So before, you used to get add-ons for them. So I've got Toxic City Mall for Zombicide. You had Green Horde for Black Plague and stuff like that. So you had add-ons and stuff like that. But before we've even had a proper expansion released for Invader, you've had the second edition Zombicide, and they've already announced the Night of the Living Dead version of Zombicide. So they're almost falling into a pattern now that rather than... I'm sure they're probably going to release add-on packs as well, but they're releasing whole base games, one after the other after the other. And it's starting to become very reminiscent of that video game, the way that big companies in video gaming are getting into, of this game needs to be released year on year on year. I mean,
every FIFA every year.
Well, just look at, for example, the one which has really gotten people angry recently was the new WWE game, WWE 2K20, the one that's broken as hell, and you just think to yourself, just stop. I know it isn't the same for video games as it is for board games, in that you can rush a release of a video game and it can be broken and thrown out online. That doesn't tend to happen with board gaming. However, it's still a case of, hey, just take some time, develop something that's a bit more maybe not necessarily innovative, but at least something that's new and different, rather than just releasing the same thing over and over and over.
So I guess you could say, right, so tomorrow, as of Friday, what are we on? 15th?
So this will be released on the Friday. So
okay, as of today, the newest Pokemon game is out. Now, people have been complaining about it. It's not actually out yet, but they've been complaining about how it's different. Now, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, given the fact that Pokemon games are essentially the same game rehashed. I like the idea that there's some new features they've added, and they've not put in everything from the old one. I know it's kind of killing off a bit of the old fan base, but I like the fact that this could be new. It could have some new features. I know Let's Go Eevee, Let's Go Pikachu had the more Pokemon Go aspect of just catching things and not actually, battling them. They've kind of done away with that here. They've put it back to the original, but they've also added this whole thing where you've got the roaming Pokemon, which I love the concept of having Pokemon roaming around, people in the grass still. It's kind of blending the best of both worlds, and I think it's probably going to anger a lot of people, this game, but at the same time I think it's going to be different enough that it's going to really kind of push it out there this is finally a brand new game. I mean, it's the first Switch one.
Yeah.
So it might be Rocket, it might not be, but it's the fact that it's a kind of a full 3D game. It's out there. It's kind of, it's different, which is fine.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's Zombicide, folks.
Yeah. Not to be confused with Pokemon.
So yeah. Shall we make a game?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we haven't had a suggestion this week. So what we've done instead is we found a random board game name generator, and this week we have to make Magical Sandwich Wranglers, the game.
Okay. Right.
How do we do this?
So, having had previous experience in the art of making sandwiches.
Oh, you used to work for a certain...
For a sandwich company.
Yeah, a certain
That's all I will
company.
say.
Yes.
I really like the idea they've become irradiated. So I like the idea that, boom, comets come down. I mean, admittedly, it would have to be just one, I suppose, localised area. And it's irradiated all these baguettes, yeah? Right?
Yeah.
And they are going crazy. And as a person who is prone to making sandwiches, you have to hunt these bad boys down.
Yeah.
Now, depending on their fillings, is how many points you get. I like the idea they're also harder depending on their fillings. Cool, that's a stale baguette.
So is there going to be an element of, as these sandwiches are appearing, you're wanting to catch them as quickly as possible? Wrangling implies that you're going out, you're catching these things, you're bringing them in.
Oh my God.
So the longer they're on the board, perhaps they start to lose freshness.
Yeah.
And the idea is you want to be trying to catch... Yeah, so...
The fresher they are, the more points you get.
Yeah, so let's say you may decide to go to one area of the board where a fresh sandwich has appeared.
So I like the idea.
All I'm thinking of is Pokemon now.
Yeah, I know.
But as sandwiches.
Okay, so I really like the idea that you've got one guy making the sandwiches, who's like this kind of this evil cosmic...
Some mad doctor, some Frankenstein.
Yeah, he's creating these sandwiches. Oh, I'll put some lettuce in there, throw some pastrami in there. You know, like, mustard that bad boy. So I like the idea he's constantly making sandwiches, a bit like Overcooked in a way.
Sure.
Just throwing these bad boys together and just launch them out into the world, and it's your job to kind of get them.
Idea. Could this be a one versus all game where one person's playing as the sandwich maker?
Yeah, I think so.
Everyone else is trying to wrangle together the sandwiches.
Yeah, I think...
And gain as many points as possible.
I don't think there's a losing condition for like the players if the sandwich... I think it's just fun for the sandwich guy to be throwing out these sandwiches.
Yeah.
They could be foam.
He could be making bad sandwiches.
Yeah.
If they go after a bad sandwich,
then...
the
duck points.
Yeah.
Is it depending on the form?
Like, I don't know, the sandwich containing
gone off ham
and a tyre or something like that.
Wow.
You know? Yeah.
Okay, I do like the idea of this. I think the wrangling thing would be a skill check.
Yeah.
I feel like the bigger the sandwich, the harder you've got to hold down that bad boy.
I feel like this is going to be as close to an Ameritrash game as we probably want. Like it will. We're not going for any complicated mechanics or any grand strategy to this game. It's just a stupid fun game where you're just pieces on a board, dudes on a board, moving about, trying to wrangle some sandwiches.
Wearing
one person's
sweet
crazy,
gloves,
trying to make them
contaminate them.
Yeah. Do we have any? What sort of mechanics could we put on it though? I know I said no complicated mechanics in this one, just a real straightforward affair, a more story driven kind of thing. I feel like there could be event cards. Like sometimes some sandwiches could merge together.
It's raining. The sandwich bread has got wet. Lose 10 points. Stuff like that would be really, really cool.
The sandwich fillings are merging together.
Oh my god, it's making the ultimate triple decker.
Creating essentially a Scooby-Doo sandwich.
Yes, the manwich is the ultimate sandwich.
Yeah. Oh, we could make up some
toasted?
mock characters
as
toasted. Well. We wouldn't be able to use Shaggy and Scooby per se.
Daryl and Onyx.
Yeah. Chasing around the sandwiches. They'll be eating the sandwiches before you can wrangle them, perhaps, as an event.
Oh my god, yeah. That could be quite good fun. Different bread types give you different scores. If it's got mould. A mould. Oh, actually, that could be a really good thing. So say it was like a hidden agenda almost.
Yeah.
Where the enemy or the sandwich Frankenstein, I don't know, we need to work on that name. He's putting mould in them. And until you've collected them and eaten them, maybe, I don't know, but I like the idea that there's this one mould that could probably spread to other moulds. So say it's like a granary bread,
and
there's other granary breads. Sorry, I'm getting really excited. Granary breads in your sandwich pen.
Yeah,
you get your own sandwich pen, where you've got them all grazing, right? What if that one's infecting the others? It's minusing the points, but you don't know this.
Oh god, because the mould's spreading.
Mould is spreading. Mould spreads.
Oh, we can't have that.
We can't.
So you would have some sort of mold prevention method, maybe?
You could freeze that one.
So perhaps you have items that you can collect, perhaps, which can preserve your sandwiches. Preservatives, which could damage your reputation.
Yes.
I mean, no one likes preservatives.
No, it's got to be pure organic materials.
Yeah. But you may be cheating the system when you wrangle your sandwiches. This is probably getting way more complex than I first imagined it would.
I really like the idea that your characters have various different beliefs or so like if you're vegan and you get a meat sandwich, it's like done. That's it. If you get a vegetarian one, you kind of get half points.
So you could have I wouldn't say they'd be hidden agendas, but you could be dealt a card, say, at the beginning of the game, which defines a moral aspect of your character.
You don't eat meat, or you don't...
not necessarily even a moral.
Or you can't... You're gluten intolerant.
Yes, or something like that.
Oh my god, you could only get gluten-free sandwiches.
I love this game.
So many options, and it's got weirder and weirder as we go on.
But yeah, that is Magical Sandwich Wranglers coming to a board game shop near you.
Yes, in 20 undisclosed.
20 undisclosed.
Yes. It could even be 30, but we don't know. I don't think I'm going to make it there.
It could be 20 decades.
Could be. And when you finally play it with your great sandwich children,
They'll be telling stories of the...
Well, they won't. They'll be getting eaten with mould, but...
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, never leave lettuce out of the fridge.
It'll go brown.
It gets worse than goes brown. If
It'll
you
turn
leave
into a black slime.
months on end. True story. Found that. That was not fun. Also, processed ham. Don't let it do it. Imagine a fridge turning off, right? An industrial fridge. An industrial fridge, yeah. And being left for 3 months.
This sounds like this is just feeding into our event cards we could have for this game.
Oh my god, it got shut down and the sandwiches banded together. It's like a Toy Story kind of thing where they're actually sentient. Or they became sentient because the mould got them.
Yeah.
Do you know, we've got so many add-ons here we could do for this. The expansion list is getting high.
It is. Yeah. Right. Let's take an audience question.
I would love that question.
So, we were promising a very Christmassy episode, and this is kind of where it starts on the second to last section of the podcast. So, this comes from Tony Way, who I think might have sent us a question before.
The game does ring a bell, actually.
I'm not sure. He says, "Hello guys, which games are you planning to play with family this holiday season? Thanks for the laughs and keep up the good work, Tony Way." Smiley face.
Oh, that's nice. Smiley face.
Yes. So,
you go first, I go first.
So I've kind of, I know what games work well anyway. Sheriff of Nottingham is fantastic for
Very
playing with family because we all like lying to our parents or grandmas or whatever, anyone really.
Anyone.
So yeah, Sheriff of Nottingham is a game which involves you constantly lying and getting the better through, well, either lying or telling the truth. There's nothing better when you try to sneak a bag through customs that has nothing but legal goods in, and your grandma accuses you of being a lying little...
It's got some wine in it!
Yeah.
No,
and
grandma.
turning out you are absolutely telling the truth and taking their money.
Daylight robbery.
Yes. So Sheriff of Nottingham is probably the game I would recommend the most. Carcassonne is another one that went down really, really well.
Yeah.
With my mum and dad. It's very easy to play. A tile laying game. It's very visual. And yeah, there's not a lot of rules to it. It's another good one, I would say.
I don't play games with my family.
To be honest, I never used to either. It always used to be, if we played a board game, it was always going to be a game like Bezer Wizard or Trivial Pursuit, where whoever wins the game is the person who just knows the most stuff. That's never fair, especially if you're playing with younger kids as well. So
I play with a semi-adopted family. I haven't adopted them.
Okay.
They don't even know
They've
I exist.
adopted you?
No, I like the idea of just walking to someone's house and like, we're playing a board game. Oh, Mummy, who's that man?
Shut up and roll some dice.
I'm your uncle. You can call me Daryl. We've played stuff like Articulate, Exploding Kittens, stuff like that. Usually around the Christmas time as well.
Yeah.
I want to adopt a family. Exploding Kittens is one of those games that's just really easy to play, and I think everyone in that group of my fake family has played it really well and played it quite a lot. So you're playing, essentially they're playing with both decks, so they're not safe for work one and the standard deck, so you're throwing it all in, so it's just crazy amount of nopes, crazy amount of like what do you call it, not deflect, diffuse cards, so stuff like that. I find that I have played Cash with Guns. Cash and Guns. I played that because I played that with my in-laws, I guess the word, and mainly because they like pointing a foam gun at people. That says a bit about them, but essentially, yeah, it's one of those games. Again, it's not too bad. It's kind of a little bit more of a I don't know, like honour among thieves, I guess, in a way. It's kind of a cool system. So like pointing at each other is quite fun. It's quite visually pleasing. Cards Against Humanity, although we've kind of dropped off that because it
gets boring after a while.
I mean, I've only got the base English version, and I was kindly given Crabs Adjust Humidity, which is really, really funny, but unfortunately, because it's Americanized, it is essentially just American jokes, which takes the fun out of it when you have to go, huh? And Google the answer, and then go, oh, I played that card because I thought it sounds funny, but it turns out it's actually nothing to do with anything, because it's some politician or something.
As soon as it's like one of those things that whenever you have to explain a joke, it loses all its funniness. So
yeah. As for games I would like to play, I think probably I would like to play Codenames, Decrypto, any of those kind of games where you kind of pit against each other. Decrypto mainly more, I think, than Codenames, because I've played Codenames quite a few times, not with family and stuff. But...
yeah, at the same time, I would say Codenames is simpler. I feel like it's easier to ease people into Codenames than it is for Decrypto. However, I feel like you could eventually graduate from Codenames to Decrypto.
I think Decrypto has a bit more fun to it with the whole finding where each other's minds lay with the words and guessing and stuff. So I think it'd be really good if you pit against... I don't know, let's say you had your father-in-law against, whatever. It'd be really, really good fun because you could kind of go, and have this kind of whole bonding experience, I guess, which would be kind of cool.
Can I just say, another game that I think would work quite well,
yes,
that it's already been mentioned in this podcast and that we've kind of already crapped all over, is actually Wacky Races.
Yeah, okay,
the amount of people that we saw, the amount of families, like little kids with... octogenarians and stuff like that, all sitting around playing this game of Wacky Races. It was one of the few games where I really saw that happening at the UK Game Expo.
I think it brings back a lot of nostalgia as well, which really helps. Even if you haven't seen them or didn't grow up with Wacky Races or any of that Hanna-Barbera stuff,
but I think
you kind of have seen bits to do with it, and it's kind of fun enough to pick up.
I think a lot of the problems you'll find with getting people who play board games, trying to get other people into board games, one of the hardest things is trying to keep them engaged and interested, and by giving them a topic where like we always say theme shouldn't dictate how good a game is. However, theme is still a very important part of drawing people in initially in order to play a game.
So interestingly enough, my next door neighbours, so I occasionally play board games with them as well, and I would like to say I am essentially doing what you used to do for us, ease us in with games. So I'm using King of Tokyo, stuff like that. I'm using smaller games to bring them in. And one thing we do find that we like playing is some of the more dexterity-based games, because the rules are a little bit slimmer. Yeah. So one thing I will try and bring out, and we should play at some point, is Fro Burrito. So essentially, it's it's one of the newer games. Actually,
I feel like that might be a summer game. Maybe.
No. You can play it inside. It's suggested that you don't play it near TVs and glass and stuff like that, because surprisingly, these squishy burritos are actually quite hard. I'll get to that fun fact in a minute. But it's one of those games where it's just Snap.
Yeah.
It's just Snap. It's a real basic game. You've just got to make triples. You've just got to make triples of cards. But because it's so crazy, I'll explain it really quickly. You have a draw pile of your own personal sort of group, and it says roughly to deal out 15 cards, so it's never going to be the same. And you have community piles, but the way it works is you can only have a hand of 5 cards. So you pick up your card. As soon as you don't want that card, you pass it round to the next person's draw pile. So the way they suggest it is you just have this massive pile of messed up cards in front of you. So you're just drawing cards willy-nilly. I don't need that. So it's really quick. It's really, really quick. And then obviously if you get 3 of a kind, you can put them down and that's your points down. It's constantly. The fun is when it's suddenly someone's collected 3 of the Brawl, War, Duel cards. And that's when the burritos kick off. So this is where it gets fun, because it's you're doing that, concentrating. Duel! Grab the burrito and just launch at each other. So, in that respect, I think that'd be really good for Christmas.
Yeah.
However, I know you're saying about summer, they don't actually work very well outside.
Okay.
They get very dirty because of the sponge material. But I think if you've got enough space and you've moved away damageable stuff, they work fine. However, if you are my next door neighbour's feisty wife, I guess you could say, she is very good at shooting them straight into your crotch. It's in like a split second, pick up, launch, and nutshot. And
So
you are just...
bring a cup.
Bring a cup. However, I got her back by throwing it so hard at her throat that she started coughing. Now, it wasn't intentional, it's because of the height difference. But she ducked off, I shot it, and it smacked her square in the throat. So it's a great, good, fun game. They do also suggest that you can use other people and any furniture as a shield.
Okay.
So it is dodgeball. It's dodgeball with a weird snap system. So I would say at Christmas that could be really fun.
Yeah.
Especially drunk. Imagine launch that at someone.
Knocking the sherry out of Granny's hand.
Just running into one of those dive shots where you just launch it down in slow motion, but actually all you've done is trip over the cat. Like,
Right.
Yeah, I think there's potential this year. I'm going to try and introduce a few more games.
I think like the other thing, the last game I really want to mention is probably going to be Flick 'em Up. I feel
100%.
like that is another game that would be really really easy to introduce anyone to. I feel like it can hold attention. It's very quick to play, and hey, who doesn't like flicking stuff at other stuff?
This is what I say. Dexterity games are quite popular again, and I they're super easy to pick up and play, and the components usually are really, really nice quality.
Yeah.
And this, like you say, it's fun just flicking something.
Yeah. Right, we're running out of time, so let's move on to the big question. Which this time is...
A little question.
Which board game should be on your Christmas list? So
Still
it's
festive
about
themed.
the time. Yeah, again, this is where we're staying festive. So it's about that time of year where you're going to be putting together a Christmas list to throw at everyone else and say, get me this. So what game should you be looking at? Well,
Past and present.
past and present. So it doesn't necessarily have to be games from this year. It's more games that you think people really should be looking to own if they don't already have it. I'm going to start the ball rolling by saying this is a game which I really would have liked to have used as an example for the last question we had, which is Flamme Rouge.
Yes.
Flamme Rouge, it's where I was saying before that a theme has to be able to grip you, and you have to remain interested in it as when you're playing with people that haven't played board games before, especially family members who may not have the same sort of attention span. If you explain to someone, let's play a game about cycling, I don't think they're going to be that interested. But Flamme Rouge is... I think Flamme Rouge, if you can get people initially invested in it and convince them to play it, everyone has a good time playing Flamme Rouge. I don't think there's any group of board games that I wouldn't recommend it to, so I certainly think if you haven't got Flamme Rouge on your Christmas list, you should have that on there straight away. And there's lots of really neat little expansions coming out at the moment.
Yeah, I've seen some of
So you have things like the Peloton expansion. I've forgotten the names of the other one. I think one was called Metro, I think, or something like that, which can add things like cobblestones. There's some which add a campaign variant into the game. So it's really cool. It's like your tiredness carries over from, like you've got your tiredness
Which would
cards.
make sense for an actual Tour de France.
They carry over from one race to another, so that's really neat.
Really cool, actually.
Yeah, so I really want to try that sometime.
Yeah, I haven't played Formula D once with you guys, and really
Eldorado
wanted to.
as well?
Eldorado, yeah. I would say Flamme Rouge is actually pretty high up there.
I think Flamme Rouge is still my favourite race game, although Eldorado does push it quite close.
Yeah, Eldorado was surprisingly for a...
It's interesting to have a deck... Well, Flamme Rouge is kind of... It's not
It's very-
really
yeah,
a
it's
deck
very
building game, it's just a deck-oriented game, whereas Eldorado is a deck building game that's also a race game.
It's weird because we kind of, when we think of our board games, we essentially go for like the top, not top, I don't want to say that, we go for bigger board game creators. Whereas Ravensburger is something you've only got a couple of, and yet that was a really good game. Like you picture them all as puzzle dudes. And oh my god, I still haven't bought Jaws.
No, we haven't, no.
Has that even been? That might have been. No, that's getting released soon actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to get that. Yeah, so we'll give you one on that as well. But yeah, we were really surprised how much we enjoyed I don't even want to say a basic game, a game that was a bit more out of our normal kind of publisher list, I guess you could say.
Yeah. But I certainly think if you're looking at the lower end of stuff, I would say, like, as in a cheaper board game, I would say Flamme Rouge is a nice one you should be asking for. Probably on the more expensive side of things. Oh, I don't know. What expensive games have we played that are very, very good? I think maybe...
I would go with Catacombs.
Catacombs is kind of a middle of the range one, though. It's not necessarily that expensive.
Hold of, though.
I think that's the problem, is it's really hard to recommend to you guys games you should be asking for when they're mostly just a Kickstarter exclusive game.
Super hard to get hold of.
I imagine Nemesis is going to be a really good luxury game to buy, especially now that it's at UK retail, so that's one you may want on your radar, but we haven't played it yet. And it looks very, very good.
Kind of over £100, which is kind of a bit of a pricey boy.
Even for me.
Even for you.
But yeah,
King of Tokyo, we've said this. If you haven't got King of Tokyo, I think get King of Tokyo, because it transcends time. It transcends people. Like, it doesn't matter what age you are to be playing that.
I think Decrypto as well.
Yeah, Decrypto.
If you haven't got Decrypto is one I would definitely say.
If you haven't got Codenames.
I would argue Decrypto over Codenames, though.
We did say this, but it's just more if it's younger kids, because you can buy, like, kids versions, can't you? Like a Frozen or Pixar or Disney or something like that.
Yeah.
Crypto, and there's themed ones. Put your fingers in your ears. We're gonna go with Munchkin from my end, and Flux. You took your fingers out of your ears only because Steve doesn't like them, and also because again you can get themed ones around stuff. So if kids want to play. Oh, I don't even know. There's like, if kids want to play Warhammer, I guess Pirate Flux, Pirate whatever. You know, there's themes you can kind of throw in there. And I know you were saying themes not important.
And if the weather gets cold, you could always use it as a makeshift fireplace,
which would probably work really well.
Yeah.
There was one I was thinking of that I can't remember.
I think we mentioned it earlier in the podcast. I think Team 3 is the game that I would say from this year, if you're just looking for a nice little simple game to play, I think Team 3 is the one that I'd recommend. It only plays with 3 players, but I mean, it
works.
It's wonderful. It's such a good game.
I'm trying to think. There was something on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember.
Your tongue.
Ting of the tongue.
Tongue.
Men at Work.
Men at Work, yes.
Chronicles of Crime.
Yep.
Okay, app-based driven for Chronicles of Crime, but it's, you know, it works. And that was it. Controversially, I would say Betrayal at the House of the Hill.
Betrayal at House of the Hill or Betrayal Legacy?
Not Legacy. Betrayal House of the Hill. The reason behind this is it takes a little while to get round the mechanics. But once you do, because of the fact that there are so many different variations that could send you to different scenarios, you've always kind of playing a new game. Building a house, you got your characters, rolling your dice. I would say not necessarily for the younger ones, but maybe for the slightly mature ones, especially if you're trying to introduce it into a board game group, if you've got a group, or maybe you're adults. I would go as far as to say we've had some really fun, very memorable moments with that.
We have, actually, yes.
Just because you're never 100% sure who's going to turn, or who isn't, and you're never really sure the win conditions. You get one from one group, but you don't, like, so like I might have something different to you and whatever. I kind of like the fact that we've always had a different scenario.
Yeah. I haven't. We have had repeat scenarios from when I've played it. But,
that's a shame.
I have played it quite a few times now. I think I can't go on a recommendations list of games you should be asking for without mentioning my favourite game, which is Mysterium. You need a lot of people to play it, but man, I just love that game. Like I said, it's my favourite game. Watson and Holmes, another game which I think everyone should at least try.
Yeah. You said about this before.
It's a very good game. We've played it.
We
have. You were around here with Helen's played it.
What was the one you were saying where it was more of a two-person, just one?
That was
Consultant Detective.
God, yeah, Consulting Detective. Sherlock Holmes, Consulting Detective.
There's too many detective ones.
But yeah, Holmes and Watson is more group-based thing. But yeah, Consulting Detective, if you can get that as well, actually, I would very much recommend. But it's more of I would rather play that as more of either a solo game or an intimate kind of two-person kind of experience for it. I think I've got one thing which I want to include as a stocking filler: cockroach poker.
Yeah, that's quite a nice one.
That I would say is a nice little stocking filler. So.
Oh, actually, again, nice little one. Depending on, it doesn't really matter which one. Love letter in any form.
Yeah.
Love letter in any form. If again, I've got a Batman one and an Adventure Time one, so perfect for kids. The game is super simple. You can take that anywhere. That is fantastic. Again, a stocking filler, perfect little idea.
Yeah, at that I think we've given you enough ideas.
Yes.
And
so if you want our
things to
Christmas
ask for.
lists, they'll be on.
Do you know what? We own all these games. So, however, if you'd like to send us a copy of Nemesis, then by all means, go ahead. But
I'm going to try and play that. They've got that down. Every now and then, someone tries running it down at a tournament, so I might try and give it a go.
Yeah, I really want to play it because it looks right up my street.
I'm really. So this is right. So we'll go finish very soon. Have we got time?
Yeah, let's do it.
Daryl's final thoughts. So, going back to the whole companies bringing out game after game after game after game after game. Awaken Realms, initially, up until the point where I think I got on Lords of Helios, or Hellos. Before that, they'd only done this War of Mine, and it received quite good reviews, I think.
It did, yeah.
So they knew what they were doing, and there was, the campaign was quite a long one, but sort of as they had just finished wrapping up Lords of Helios, they had announced Nemesis. So I initially was a bit worried because at the point they've done this, they announced that they were delaying the original games. So I kind of didn't get on the bandwagon, and neither did you.
No.
And then you jumped on the third one as they had just finished announcing Nemesis. They then brought out Tainted Grail.
Tainted Grail.
Which did look really cool, but again, because I hadn't received the original game that I'd ordered, I, didn't do it. Having said that, I massively regret this because at the time of initial Kickstarter, I think it was under £100, like under 80 quid, I think.
Yeah.
With shipping probably about 89. They're retailing it for about 120 if you can find it.
In fairness, at UK Game Expo, they had a limited supply of Nemesis that they were selling back then. That was back in May. But the price point was over. It was three figures. I remember that.
The retail price now is still over 100, and you just you're not. This is the pros and cons of Kickstarter a little bit. For what I paid for the original Lords of Helios game, I've got a hell of a lot of stuff. There's 2 boxes worth. For the Nemesis campaign, there was a lot of stuff. For the Tainted Grail stuff, there was a lot of stuff. So I begrudge now having to pay over £100 for something that's missing essentially the contents I could have done for 78 or 79. So it's one of those things, if you are unsure about something, I would recommend maybe just getting on the Pledge Manager at least for like a couple of pounds or dollars or whatever your local currency is.
Yeah.
Because at least then you can decide later on if you want to, and you've only lost out £2.
On the plus side, Tainted Grail is in fulfillment at the moment, so it should be here very, very soon.
How long was the delay on that?
I don't think there is a delay. I think it's gone quite smoothly, generally.
Mine was like a year. So originally it was meant to come out the November of the year I got it. It didn't come out till like the next year.
So Lords of Helios was their first major one, though.
To be fair to them, they hit a hell of a lot of bumps. They had to change companies with the plastic production because it was just poor quality. The files weren't rendering properly. The one I really, really feel sorry for them was they got stung on customs. Customs collected one of their containers and just kept it and held it.
Yeah.
So it was like that was a massive delay because it was components coming from China, which is terrible.
But just look at what they've, from a production standpoint. Just look at what it produced.
I mean,
absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, the model quality it's insane, man. I mean, the Grail ones look great. I mean, one of the things they gave me was for the Helios ones was one of the figures from Nemesis.
Yeah.
And Jesus, man, it looks right up my alley, and I really regret that.
Yeah. Anyway, until next time, you can find us on social medias at Everybody Dice Show, or that's for Instagram, or at Everybody Dice on Twitter. All of our stuff is in one place on www.everybodydice.com. You can send us questions to answer on this very podcast itself by mailing us at mailbag@everybodydice.com. I think that is everything, apart from the fact that if you want to become a Patreon, which, if you have particularly enjoyed what we're doing, we could always use some extra financial help. You can do that by donating as little as $1 a month at www.patreon.com/everybodydice. I think that is everything.
We didn't phone Ian.
We did not phone Ian.
Should I phone him now?
Should we phone him to say goodbye?
This could be horrible.
It could well be, but I don't think he's really expecting us. We haven't phoned ahead or anything like that.
Although we did say that was the best form of.
Yeah, but we had to ask him something and drop him in a spot where...
Well, that's going to be easy.
Okay.
This might not work, guys. Oh. This could be disappointing.
I don't think he's answering.
Oh, do you know what? I miss the sound of your sultry voice.
Say bye! No, you meant... We've literally reached the end of the podcast and we totally forgot.
You forgot about me.
You're on it, you're on it.
You're
We're right
live.
at the end.
You're on live.
We've
Please
done
do
all
not
the
swear.
spiel, the whole... Hey, we've done all our social medias.
Oh, nice. Make sure you go to www.everybodydice.butts.
.butts, nice.
But how are you?
Reserve that domain name. It's going to be worth millions.
Okay, we'll sell it, I'm sure. Just quickly, what would be your one game you'd play at Christmas with the family?
I play Mapomenos with my family.
Map on. Okay,
There we go,
there we go.
Mapomenos.
It is a game that fuels so much hatred. That's the reason I don't see them the rest of the year.
Okay, fair enough. All right, and on that bombshell,
I suppose we just say goodbye.
say bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye.